What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here today for another little chit chat video. What are we talking about today? Re-evaluation mode slash prepping for some larger events. They kind of go hand in hand, at least for me. The latter kind of sent me into the re-evaluation mode. So what am I talking about here? One, the National is coming. It's going to be here before you know it. That's a relatively big show. Cash is king at that show, especially on the trade floor. Now, at trade nights, a little bit of a different story. I am also confirmed for Heroes Con, comic book convention in Charlotte, North Carolina, towards the end of June. So I have that in June, and then the National in July. Maybe a Ship Shawana show. Prior to that, that one's not, as crazy where I need to like load up and have a bunch of cash going in to get done what I want to get done with. But this is something good to do, even if you're not planning on attending the National or some other large thing. And that is just reevaluate what you got, kind of, for lack of a better term, just laying around taking up space. For me, that is twofold. I have a two-prong approach to this. Approach one was I went through my my wax inventory. And I'm in the process of eliminating some of it. Now, I'm not like anti-wax anymore or anything crazy like that. In fact, most of the stuff that I'm moving off of, I'm making small profit margins on. But what I decided to do was, like, I have some Pokemon retail wax. I'm going to look to sell to one of the local dealers that sets up at my shows. Nothing crazy. I'm talking like $30 Brilliant Star ETBs, some loose Evolving Skies sleeve packs, some, premium collection boxes, like that sort of stuff. Nothing crazy. I'll probably make, I don't know, maybe 10, 15% on it and leave them some room so that, they could sell it at the current market rate or whatever. And it's not that I'm out on that product, because I have tons of, let's just continue with the same example, Pokemon. I have tons of Pokemon booster boxes that I am well into the green on, that I bought for $85 or $90 that currently sell for $140, $150, $160 that I could cash in. But it's more about reevaluating what I want to have laying around. Booster boxes, and part of the reason why when people invest in TCGs and cards in general, they like boosters, is because they just store easier. I have cases of boosters. They stack very nicely versus ETBs and some of the other Pokemon products just take up a lot of space. I have totes, like Rubbermaid totes with a bunch of that stuff thrown in them. And I was just kind of going through and saying, okay, what can I turn into cash to have cash on hand for these upcoming larger shows? And also just kind of clean up my space a little bit. I don't want this stuff necessarily laying around. It's not that I don't believe in the product. I have Brilliant Star booster boxes, so it's not like I'm not invested in that product still. It's just that retail product takes up a lot of space, and it's just easier to move. It's a lower price point. Local card show dealers are always looking for that sort of stuff because it moves very easy at a local show level. So it's very liquid to move off that stuff and very simple. I don't have to ship it. I can just take it to someone, they'll cash me out, and move on. The other thing that I'm doing is going through card inventory. For me, part of this is physical, and part of it is just literally looking at my collection page in Market Movers, which I have all my sealed wax in there, and most of my singles are in there. And just kind of scrolling through it, and also just kind of looking through my case. And, to steal the Marie Kondo line, what doesn't spark joy anymore? Now, I actually sold a bigger card, almost a $2,000 eBay sale. I'll net like $1,750 off of it. We'll talk about it in an upcoming video. I don't want to get into specifics until it's like 1,000% final. It still needs to go through eBay authenticity. I have no worries about the card at all passing that. It's just after I screwed up and shipped those two cards to the wrong place that one time, I don't like to count my chickens before they roost anymore. So I will wait for it to officially clear everything, and then I plan on doing a video talking about the thought process behind what the card was and selling it. I mean, the rough is that, I looked at the card. It's a great card. I've had it for a year. You can feel free to guess in the comments down below. Fantastic card. I just never. I made a tactical move to trade into it at the time because I felt like the stuff I was giving up had way more downside risk than the card that I was getting into, and that actually ended up being true. This card went down a little bit, but in all honesty, not that much, especially compared to everything else. It held its value fairly strong. And I looked at the card. I knew that I could probably get around $1,500 cash to $2,000, just kind of depending on where it's sold at. And I thought about it, and it just came down to, would I rather have this, or would I rather have something that I actually enjoy owning and also has, store of value potential? So would I rather have this particular card or a LeBron auto or a really big X-Men key in a decent CGC grade, maybe like a 101 in like a 9.2 or 9.4 or something like that, or even a 9.6 if I wanted to go all in on it? Or do I want to use that money to finish off my Dark Phoenix run, or maybe go after like a LeBron rookie refractor or something like that? There's a lot of different angles that I could go with it, but the ultimate reasoning is that, as I stated at the beginning of the video, cash is king. And if you want something specific, it's way easier to negotiate for it if you just have cash in your pocket. That is ultimately going to trump everything else, especially if you are working back and forth with a dealer. I'm not saying you can't get trades done. You absolutely can. It's just very difficult, especially at a show like the National. Unless you have extremely liquid and desirable cards, it's very difficult to pull a deal off for fair value between you and someone setting up. It can be done, but you waste a lot of time doing that stuff. I can negotiate a lot faster if there's a card that I want that they have priced for $3,000. I could just walk up to the table. If I agree with what comps are with that card, and just be like, hey, would you take $2,500 of that? Versus pulling out a Zion case or my Firebox or whatever and saying, look through all this stuff, pick out what you want. Oh, I don't want to trade that one. Oh, we disagree on comps on this one. And next thing you know, you've been there for an hour, and it could have been literally a 3-minute discussion if you were dealing with cash. So part of this process for me is turning inventory into cash to walk into these upcoming trade shows to have more ammunition to fire from. I have a stash of cash already. It's not like I'm cash strapped or anything like that, but I want to add to it to potentially go for something bigger or badder, or a larger quantity of things. Like, one of the things I'm thinking about walking into Heroes Con is, can I finish off the Dark Phoenix run all in one shot? I'm missing a couple key books. I have the super expensive ones, but I'm missing some of like the mid-tier ones, and I would like a 101 to go with that. It's not part of Dark Phoenix, but I kind of loop it into, to close that circuit. You kind of want that book. Can I walk in there with a few $1,000s and just knock that out if I could find the books priced appropriately? That's part of the problem. Or for the National perspective, can I walk in there and have enough cash to potentially pull the trigger on a LeBron auto, or maybe a LeBron refractor that I'm missing, or something along those lines, or something else cool that might catch my eye? You never know. It's part of the thing about the National is you go in with a plan, and then all of a sudden you see something ridiculously rare or cool that you weren't expecting, and then you could go for it. I'm beginning to think about where I want my next Star Wars Stellar purchase to come from. I have the Pedro, I have the Harrison Ford, I have the Billy D. Williams, the Lando Calrissian. I just picked up a new one for a couple $100 that'll be here later this week. I'll probably do a mail day video on that next week, but was another key one that I wanted to cross off the list, nowhere near as expensive. But I'm starting to whittle down on the characters that I want from that, and the two last remaining ones, I don't know if I'll be able to get them or not because they are astronomically expensive, is Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher. Would I like to own those at one point in time? Sure, it would be cool. I have way more of an attachment to Han Solo as a character, so that's part of the reason why I went for that one and was willing to fork up for that at the $2K plus price tag. I don't dislike Luke Skywalker. I don't dislike Leia, but to me, the Harrison Ford was a more iconic piece. The other two sell for way more, but I wouldn't mind having him at some point in time. So if I run across something like that at the National, I have the cash in my pocket to pull the deal, pull the trigger on a deal to get it done. It's just easier that way. And two, if the cards that I'm selling are just literally taking up space in my case, like what are we really doing here? Some of the stuff, obviously, I don't want to move off of because I do consider it more of an air quotes investment piece. My Jim Brown rookies. Would I like to maybe combine those together and get into a higher grade one? Sure. I'm not looking to sell those. I don't see those, crashing anytime soon. My Vlad Guerrero X-Fractor PSA 10, different story. I like the card. I don't have any great attachment to it. Would I rather have the card just literally sitting in my case? It never goes on my desk. That's almost kind of where I'm at, is when I flip through my case, is this a card that I could see putting on my desk? I have space for about a dozen cards on my desk, and I rotate through them. So is this something that could potentially fit in that rotation? And, people talk about having like a 50 card PC or a 100 card PC case that the cards go in there. They're essentially your untouchables. You're not selling them unless something trumps something to replace it. And that's kind of how I'm looking at this situation, but it's more of a revolving. I don't have a set number assigned to it. But I'm getting to the point where the stuff's sitting in there. I would rather have the cash to go acquire things that either have better potential upside or that I just straight up enjoy more. And if I'm selling at a loss, I'm selling at a loss. I've talked about that a bunch over the years of don't be afraid to sell for the loss. The Vlad X-Fractor, I think I paid like $350 for it. I don't even remember. It goes for $200 now. Would I rather sit on that card and hope and wish and pray that it's going to go back up to $350 so I can net out and equal out on it and not take a loss on it? Sure, that would be cool, but the odds of that happening are the same as a leprechaun coming over the rainbow and leaving a pot of gold under my pillow tonight. So would I rather just have the $200 to go buy something else or sit on the Vlad with my hopes, dreams, and prayers? I keep using that card as an example because it was one of the ones that I pulled out as something that I want to potentially move off of. I don't even know if $200 is what it currently goes for. I think last I looked, it went for around that, but I could be completely wrong. So I think, once again, whether you're going to an event like show like I am, I have a couple of them potentially on board, or just in general, I think it's good to just kind of sit down and look around and go, what the hell do I have laying around? And why is it laying around? Like, could I turn this into cash and then take that money and buy something that I'm actually truly going to enjoy? I think a lot of times we all get caught up in this buy mode, or I rip a bunch of wax and all of a sudden you got a bunch of nonsense laying around. I have another box of stuff I could probably send off to ComC pretty soon. My first order is almost completely processed. There's just, I feel like there's a lot of ways that we all have money just kind of laying around us and things that we don't really want anymore, specifically in the collectible space, that you could turn into cash to get things that you really want. And it's really just a matter of sitting down, reevaluating, and quite honestly, just not being lazy about it. Oh, do I really want to list these 5 cards on eBay tonight? I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. And next thing you know, tomorrow is 3 months from now. The season's halfway over and the card's down 30%. And you end up selling it then when you could have just been unlazy and sold it 3 months ago. So that's kind of where my headspace is at. If you have stuff laying around you, you're sitting at your desk, just take a look around. Is that something that really sparks joy? Once again, to revert back to that line. And if it doesn't, maybe reevaluate it. And spark joy can mean a lot of different things. It means you truly enjoy the collectible, or maybe you do view it as a long-term investment piece, like my Jim Browns are both. I like owning that card, and I also view it as a long-term investment piece. I'm not worried about that card in the long run. But there's plenty of things in my Zion case that I look at and going, I bought this for a reason back when I bought it, but I have no emotional attachment to it now. Maybe it's time to let that thing go and put that towards something that I will actually truly enjoy. So I recommend doing that yourself in your home life. Look around, see what you got. And if you are planning on going to the National, once again, I think it's a good prep piece. I would rather walk into that show with $3,000 in cash than $4,000 in trade stuff in my Zion case. I'm going to get way more done with the $3K in cash than I am the trade stuff, at least on the show floor. Trade nights, a little bit of a different story. You definitely can get stuff done at trade nights, but your mileage is going to vary there as well. So that's all I got for you. Just kind of a little think piece, a little talking out loud, little thought process thing. We will catch you boys and girls on the next one. Peace.